Evelyn Carter was not just an ordinary girl. While others her age spent their time playing games or watching TV, she found solace in the melodies of her violin. Raised by her hardworking mother, Anna, a waitress with a hidden past in music, Evelyn's talent was raw and undeniable. She had never taken formal lessons, yet every note she played carried deep emotion. Little did she know, one unexpected night at the restaurant would change her life forever. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next in this incredible story. Now let's dive back in. The restaurant was packed, filled with the clinking of silverware and the hum of conversation. CEO Victor Calloway, a man known for his arrogance, leaned back in his chair, smirking as he looked at Evelyn Carter, the young daughter of a waitress. "Hey kid," he chuckled, sipping his expensive wine, "why don't you entertain us? Play the violin." The crowd laughed. They knew that Evelyn's mother barely made ends meet, and there was no way she could afford music lessons. But Evelyn didn't flinch. She quietly stepped forward, picked up the old violin someone had handed her, and placed it under her chin. The moment her bow touched the strings, the entire room fell silent. The restaurant was buzzing with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the hum of conversations. It was an upscale venue, the kind where people in tailored suits and designer dresses gathered to discuss million-dollar deals over plates of gourmet food. Among them sat Victor Calloway, a CEO known not just for his business empire, but for his sharp tongue and arrogance. He leaned back in his chair, twirling a glass of deep red wine, his piercing blue eyes scanning the room for his next source of amusement. That's when his gaze landed on a young girl standing near the corner, clutching a worn-out violin case. She was small, no older than 12, with auburn hair pulled into a loose ponytail and hazel eyes that held a quiet intensity. Her name was Evelyn Carter. Her mother, Anna Carter, was a waitress at the restaurant, running between tables with a tired but determined look on her face. Victor smirked, nudging his colleague beside him. "Hey, isn't that your waitress's kid?" He mused loud enough for those nearby to hear. Some turned their heads, curious. Anna, overhearing him, stiffened, but kept her focus on refilling a glass of water at a nearby table. Victor tapped the edge of his wine glass with a fork, the sharp clink drawing even more attention. "Hey, kid," he called out, waving Evelyn over. "Got a minute?" Evelyn hesitated, glancing toward her mother, who gave her a small, reassuring nod. Slowly, she stepped forward. Victor tilted his head, studying her with an amused expression. "So tell me," he drawled, "what do you do for fun? Play games? Watch cartoons?" The table around him chuckled. Evelyn blinked. "I play the violin," she said simply. That caught Victor's attention. He raised an eyebrow, glancing at the scuffed violin case in her hands. "Violin, huh? Fancy." He leaned forward, his smirk widening. "How about a little performance for us? Give us something to talk about." The laughter around the table grew. Some guests leaned in, intrigued. Others exchanged knowing glances, already expecting a disaster. A rich man asking a waitress's daughter to perform in front of a high-profile crowd. This was either a joke or a setup for humiliation. Evelyn's grip on the violin tightened. She knew exactly what was happening. The laughter, the way Victor's voice dripped with mockery. This wasn't a polite request. He expected her to fail, to fumble, to be a joke. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. A waiter passing by paused, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Anna, frozen near the counter, could only watch, her heart pounding. She wanted to stop this, to shield her daughter from whatever ridicule was about to unfold. But Evelyn had already unlatched the violin case. Victor leaned back in his chair, one eyebrow raised. "Well, let's hear it," he said, taking another sip of his wine. Evelyn lifted the violin, tucking it under her chin. The restaurant had gone silent now, the anticipation thick in the air. Guests who had previously ignored the scene were now paying full attention. The sound of laughter had faded. The bow hovered over the strings for a moment, her fingers steady. Then, without another word, she played. The first note sliced through the air like a blade, sharp and pure, silencing every whisper in the restaurant. The weight of expectation, of doubt, of mockery still hung thick, but the sound of Evelyn's violin cut through it effortlessly. Victor, who had been swirling his wine with an amused smirk, froze mid-motion. The chatter from the nearby tables died out as heads turned, eyes locking on to the young girl standing in the middle of the high-end restaurant, playing a violin that looked far too worn to produce such a hauntingly beautiful sound. Evelyn's fingers danced across the strings, her bow gliding with precision, each note richer than the last. The music she played wasn't just a song, it was a story, a language beyond words, one that spoke of struggle, of longing, of something too deep to be dismissed, a melody that didn't belong to a child with no formal training, no expensive lessons, no private tutors. Yet here she was, playing with a mastery that no one in that room had expected. Victor's smirk vanished. His fingers tightened around his wine glass, and for the first time in years, he felt something he wasn't used to: discomfort. This was supposed to be a joke, a bit of amusement for himself and his elite guests. He had expected stuttering fingers, squeaky notes, an awkward, off-key attempt that would earn a few chuckles before they all moved on with their evening. Instead, what he got was a performance that gripped the entire room in the stunned silence. Across the room, a man in his late 50s, dressed in a tailored gray suit, rose to his feet. His silver hair was neatly combed back, his sharp eyes locked onto Evelyn as he clapped slowly, deliberately. The name Jonathan Whitmore carried weight in the music industry, known for discovering some of the greatest violinists of the past 2 decades. He wasn't a man easily impressed, but right now his expression showed something close to amazement. He stepped forward, the crowd instinctively parting to let him through. Anna, noticing the shift, pulled away slightly, glancing at him warily. Evelyn simply looked up, waiting. "Young lady," Jonathan said, his voice smooth but firm, "where did you learn to play like that?" Evelyn hesitated, glancing at her mother. Then with quiet certainty, she answered, "My mom taught me." A murmur rippled through the room. Anna's eyes widened in surprise. Victor let out a short, amused huff, shaking his head. "You're telling me a waitress taught a child to play like that?" He scoffed, lifting his glass to take another sip. Anna straightened, the exhaustion in her eyes replaced with something stronger. "I wasn't always a waitress," she said, her voice clear. "I studied violin at Belmont Conservatory." The reaction was instant. Gasps, whispers. Even Jonathan Whitmore's eyebrows lifted slightly, his gaze sharpening. Jonathan ignored the tension between them, turning back to Evelyn. "I would like to hear more." He reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a small embossed card. "Come to my studio tomorrow. I want to see what you can really do." Anna took the card hesitantly, reading the elegant gold lettering, Whitmore Academy.